The best storyteller I ever knew was my Granny McHugh. When I was a wee girl, I used to go and spend the weekends with her, and we'd snuggle up at night in her bed with my hot water bottle and her rosary beads. We'd say our prayers, and then she'd say, "Night, night, hen, God bless." I'd give it maybe half a minute before I broke the dark. "Granny?" "Aye, hen." "Tell me about Auntie Brenda, or Uncle John, or Auntie Josie, or whoever." I could name any one of her 9 living kids, and she'd take a deep breath and say, "Well." That was her version of once upon a time. Well, yesterday I was at a meeting and somebody asked me, not for the first time, why I titled my book the way I did. It's called Never Not a Lovely Moon. And when I finished it, I had a bunch of meetings with publishers, some of whom liked it and liked me fine, and I liked one of them too, but even he asked me the same question. Are you wedded to the title? Everybody felt it was too vague, that it might be mistaken for a book of poetry or some other genre, in spite of the subtitle, The Art of Being Yourself. But they were looking for something snappy, the 7 habits, the 3 pillars, the 5 laws, the 1 secret, whatever. And by the time I'd heard the question a handful of times, my mind was already made up. In fact, the more I heard it, the more made up it was. And I'd tell them, I'm probably more wedded to the title than anything else in the book. Not strictly true, but near as damn it. The thing is, you don't realise why it's called that till you get to the back page. So spoiler alert, I'm about to quite literally blow the cover. When my kids were young, I was in the habit of taking them out on trips one-on-one, where we'd have a week, just me and him or just me and her. And when Teddy was about 10, it was his week. And I took him to New York for Halloween. We hit the parade on 6th Avenue for what was probably one of the most political I've ever seen. The war in Iraq was underway, W was getting his swagger on, and one guy was dressed as a tube of toothpaste, carrying a sign saying, "Fight black, not Iraq." Teddy and I hung out for a while and then decided to go shoot some pool. And we were walking against the crowds up West Houston when we passed the Catholic church at the end of Sullivan Street. It's called St. Anthony of Padua. You might know him as the guy you pray to when you can't find your keys, but this is a beautiful church, and it's got a sign always above the door saying "Peace to the World." And that night, the autumn moon was hanging over the roof. It was pink and heavy and gorgeous, and I took a bad picture. And then I had to go and rescue Teddy from the zombie that was carrying him off. Now, back in those days, I could still whoop him at pool. And so by the time we got back to Soho, he was pouty. I tucked him in and I said, "Come on, darling, Mum will do her thing." We've all got rituals with our kids, and when Teddy and I were on one of our trips, we did the same 3 trades every night. First, what's your favourite memory from today? And I'd tell him mine and he'd tell me his. Second, what's one thing you know tonight you did not know this morning? Third, you can ask me any question in all the world. More often than not, his questions were benign. Why is the Empire State Building green? And especially when he was wee, he used to think that your legs would go faster depending what trainers you wore. And so one night he asked me, why did Jack's trainers run faster than mine? But once when he was about 4, he got me. He was in the bath and I was sitting with a towel. It was his turn. And he asked, "Okay, did you ever tell me a lie?" And I arranged my face in a holding pattern while my brain scrambled. And I figured the only real transgressions involved Father Christmas and the Tooth Fairy. And I wasn't about to disabuse him of the magic, so I said, "No, darling, I have never told you a lie." I decided they weren't lies. They were future truths. At least that's what I told myself. So that night in Soho, he grudgingly played our game, and he asked me, "What was your favourite memory from today?" I said, "I think it was the moon, son. Wasn't that a lovely moon tonight?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "But when you think about it, it's never not a lovely moon, is it? Even when it's a wee sliver or it's cloudy, even when it disappears for 2 days and 2 nights every month, it's never not a miracle. And neither are you, darling. Whether you're having your best day or you're getting your ass whooped at pool, you're never not a miracle." He did a wee sigh and closed his eyes. I'm not sure he was old enough for it to be a cynical sigh at that point, although knowing my son, I wouldn't be surprised. But as I thought about the title for my book, it was the only one I cared for. And this riff was inspired by Tom, who told me on Twitter that my talk had taught him not to be egotistical, but egological. And I promised him I'd tweet him something back, something that would keep him right and would help him hanging on to that feeling. So Tom, now all you've got to do is look up.